Good afternoon everyone. How are you all? I hope each and every one of you is in the pink of health and happiness. Today we are going to learn about sexual reproduction in flowering plants. So it's a very easy chapter, first chapter in class 12, and it's an easy chapter, and most of the PYQs we'll be going through today. You will be knowing that it will be mostly one-liners. With the conceptual knowledge and with the logic, we can definitely solve the problem. Okay, shall we begin with the first question? The first question, from the flower and pre-fertilization, which part of the ovule stores reserve food materials? Easy, directly from the NCERT. Tell me the answer. Which part of the ovule stores reserve food materials? Is it nucellus? Yes, Kiran, very good. Yes, it is nucellus, which stores the reserve food material, isn't it? Yes. Mostly are one-liners. We have around 60 questions. We are going to go through it fast because it's mostly are one-liners. There is no match the following or statement based such things. Okay. So pollen grains remain preserved as fossils due to the presence of a hard layer. That is it epidermal layer, tapetum, exine or intine? The outer layer? Yes, exine, which is very hard and it is not easily degradable also. So it is the pollen grains remain preserved as follies due to the presence of exine layer. Identify the set of correct statements. The flowers of Vallisneria are colorful and produce nectar. Is it so? Vallisneria, it's a hydrophyte which is in the water, isn't it? So what is the mode of which is a pollinating agent here? In Vallisneria it is water. Water is a pollinating agent, that is also surface pollination. Surface, on the surface, the male flower also come towards the surface and the female also come to the surface, and they release the pollen grain in the surface of water. So water, and will it be colorful and produce nectar? Why will it be? So this water is a abiotic agent, pollinating agent, abiotic. Do the flowers of such plants need to be colorful and produce nectar? No. So this is wrong. The flowers of water lily are not pollinated by water. Is it true or false? The flowers of water lily and water hyacinth also, actually they are not pollinated by water, or they are not pollinated by any abiotic by water. They are pollinated by insects or wind. They are mostly pollinated by insects or wind. So this makes this statement true. In most of the water pollinated species, the pollen grains are protected from wetting. Definitely true. Pollen grains of some hydrophytes are long and ribbon like. Yes. So water grass. Example here is water grass. Definitely, because it is not the pollination is not taking place in the surface, it is underwater. So they need to be in like ribbon shape for it to go carry away with the water currents. In some hydrophytes, so which is this is true. In some hydrophytes, the pollen grains are carried passively inside the water. This is also true. So what is the correct answer? What is the correct answer? A is wrong, so make it wrong. B is correct here, so which means B for Bombay is the right answer. Any doubts regarding this? Just tell me. Yes. So identify the correct description. Okay. See this diagram, and tell me which of these things holds true for this particular diagram. Is the diagram visible? It's an inflorescence. Option A, cleistogamous flower showing autogamy. Is it? No. Compact inflorescence showing complete autogamy? No. Wind pollinated plant inflorescence showing flowers with exposed, well exposed stamens? True. See, they are well exposed stamen, okay, like this. So, for the air to or the wind to carry the pollen range. Definitely true. Water pollinated flowers showing stamens with mucilaginous covering? No, this is also false. So, such a easy question, right? With just within 10 seconds we can mark the answer. It's a easy question. It was asked in 2024. So, it's an easy question, yes. And now tell me about the wind pollinated plant. What is the number of ovule in a ovary? Single ovule, single. This has also been a previous year question, just additional information in this question. Okay, large colorful fragrant flowers with nectar are seen in large, colorful, fragrant. For all these characteristics to attract insects. So, entomophilous flowers will be having this. Wind pollinated? No, they don't have to attract. It is insect pollinated. Viva Bombay is the correct answer. Okay? Yes. What is the function of tassels? What is the function of tassels?
Pollen grain.
Yes, to trap pollen grains. Very good. Easy as that. One-liners, yes. In which of the following sets of families the pollen grains are viable for months? For months. This question has come multiple times. You always remember as LSR.
Option D.
Yes. Leguminosae, Solanaceae and Rosaceae. Option D for Delhi is a correct answer. Always remember as LSR, okay, LSR. That is Leguminosae, Solanaceae and Rosaceae family. The pollen grains are viable up to months, and the viable only for certain time, that is very short period of time. The examples given in the textbook are?
Wheat.
Yes, wheat and rice. Okay, so wheat, Poaceae. So wherever Poaceae comes, mark it wrong. Even if you don't know, so even if you don't know that, okay, whether it is a Leguminosae, Solanaceae, Rosaceae, if you just know that, okay, wheat has a very short period of pollen viability, that is Poaceae. So wherever Poaceae you got, with the elimination technique also, you can solve this question. Understood? With the elimination technique also, we can solve this question. Okay, transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma of another flower of same plant is known as? Easy. Tell me. Geitonogamy. Okay. So, with that we will just take the concept, that is, if the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower, if it is same flower, then it is called as? It is called as autogamy. Another flower of the same plant we call it as geitonogamy, and from one flower of the one plant to the another flower of the another plant, then we call it as xenogamy. Okay, xenogamy. This type of pollination we call it as xenogamy. Understood? That is three types of pollination: autogamy, geitonogamy and xenogamy. In angiosperms, the correct sequence of events in formation of female gametophyte in the ovule is? It's just jumbled. We need to give the correct sequence. Try this question. It's really a good question.
Meiotic division first.
Meiotic division in megaspore mother cell. Yes. from megaspore mother cell, which is in 2n number, will become n in number. Okay, in that 4, after meiosis there will be 4 this thing
Degeneration of the
4 megaspores will be produced. After that degeneration takes place of that 3, other 3 will be degenerated, degeneration of 3 megaspores. Okay, this one is first, this is second, then with that we can mark the answer C, B, yes. Then successive free nuclear division of the functional megaspore, successive 3 successive, which means any number, 1 functional megaspore will be there, it undergo division becomes 2, then again it undergo division becomes 4, this first division, second division and third division may it becomes 8, isn't it? In that 3 goes to one pole, another 3 goes to another pole, these 2 comes in the middle as a polar nuclei in middle, that's it, yes. And this is 3, then migration of 3 nuclei towards each pole and formation of wall resulting in 7-celled embryo sac, yes. This is the thing which is D4 with 2 of the successive sequence, we can mark it as D4 as a correct answer. In general, egg apparatus of embryo sac in angiosperm consists of, tell me, if this is a embryo sac, we have 1 egg, 2 synergids, we have 1 egg here and we have 2 synergids and we have filiform apparatus here in the synergids and we have 3 antipodal cells and we have 2 polar nuclei, isn't it? And this is a cell of it, a large central cell, we call it as large central cell. This is a large central cell. So, we have one egg, 2 synergids, one large central nuclei and 3 antipodal cells. This will be there in the embryo sac. So, 2 antipodal cells wrong. Easy, 1 egg cell, 2 synergids, 3 antipodal cells and 2 polar nuclei inside one central. These are two polar nuclei. That's what we call it as 7-celled condition. 7-celled 8 nucleated condition. It was an easy question, yes. B for Bombay is the correct answer. Given below are 2 statements. Statement 1, cleistogamous flowers are invariably autogamous. Is it correct? Cleistogamous flowers are invariably autogamous?
Yes.
Yes. And cleistogamy is disadvantageous as there is no chance of cross pollination. Is it true? Yes. So, which means both the statements are correct. Easy. Identify the incorrect statement related to pollination. Moths and butterflies are the most dominant pollinating agent among insects. Is it true? Which are the most dominant pollinating agents among insects? honeybees. So with the first statement we got we need to find the incorrect statement. Yes, with the first statement we got the incorrect statement, and B, C, D will just go through. Pollination by water is quite rare in flowering plants. Pollinating by water is definitely very rare. Pollination by wind is more common amongst the abiotic factor. Yes, the pollination of wind is very much compared to water. Water as a pollinating agent, very least. Okay, example, even in the hydrophytes, even in the hydrophytes like water lily, then water hyacinth are doing the pollination by insects and wind. Okay, it was seagrass which was inside the, under the water, it was doing, water was carrying the pollen grains, and surface of water is a Vallisneria. And flower produce foul odors to attract flies and beetles to get pollinated. This is also true. A typical angiosperm embryo sac at maturity is easy. Just now we discussed, previous to previous question maybe. It is
Option D.
8 nucleate, 7 celled. True. Easy as that. The term used for transfer of pollen grains from anthers of one plant to stigma of a different plant, which during pollination brings genetically different types of pollen grains to stigma. This type of pollination, we call it as xenogamy. True. In some members of which of the following pairs of families pollen grains retain their viability for months after release? That is L, S, R. Find it. Poaceae to definitely not, because Poaceae wheat, it has very few, around 30 minutes of viability. So mark it as wrong. This is also elimination technique question. And LSR, if you remember, LSR also Leguminosae, Solanaceae and Rosaceae and Leguminosae, answer 3 as a right answer. Like easy question. Yes, the plant parts which consist of two generation one within the other are two generation one within the other. The one should be of one generation. If something is inside that, this should be of another generation. Tell me. Pollen grains inside the anther. If this is anther, if this is pollen grain, which means it will be okay, if this is pollen grain, then it will go and it will be used in fertilization, right? So this is of one generation and pollen grain is of next generation. It's going and fusing, right? It's going and fusing with the female gametophyte. So it will become the next generation. So this is true. Pollen grains inside the anther. Germinated pollen grain with two male gametes, both are of next generation only. So so it cannot be one. Both are of same generation. Two male gametes are there, right? Like when they are going germinated, it will divide into two male, mitotically it will be divided into two male gametes. One will be fused with the egg, another one will be fused with the pollen nuclei. That is double fertilization. But these two male gametes are of same generation. So we cannot say this one. Seed inside the fruit. Fruit is a resultant of, or the seed is a resultant of fertilization. So both are of same generation because fertilization has already taken place. Whereas we need to find one of the previous generation, one of this generation. So this cannot also be, okay. And embryo sac inside the ovule. Embryo sac is of previous generation. Ovule is of previous generation. Embryo sac inside the ovule. The embryo sac which contains egg, the egg is of next generation. So 1 and 4. 17C. Understood? Any doubts? So we need to find one of this generation and another one of previous generation. So in these two, this is also of next generation, and these two males gametes is of also next generation. This is the resultant of it. So, we cannot say 2 and 3, it is 1 and 4, which means C is the correct answer. In water hyacinth and water lily, pollination takes place by, yes, this is the third time we are repeating this question maybe. Yes, tell me. Insects or wind. Very good. The body of the ovule is fused within the funicle at, the body of the ovule, if this is the body of the ovule, okay, okay, if this is the ovule and this is the funicle, if this is the body of the ovule, whole ovule, anatrophous ovule, this one is, this junction here, this junction we call it as hilum, isn't it? This junction we call it as this one, this position where it is fused. This is the body of the ovule and this is funicle. This junction we call it as hilum. So, D4 Delhi is the correct answer. Which of the following is incorrect for wind pollinated plants? Many ovules in each ovary. You mean by atrophous, anatrophous, that one, amphitrophous, hemiamphitrophous. Okay, you just need to know two. Okay, two you can know. So if this is, see for example, if this is the, like previous, in this question are you asking? Okay, main two types of ovule, that is atrophous means, for example, this is a thing. This is atrophous kind of ovule, where if this is a micropylar end, the egg will be situated. This is egg. This particular thing is egg. Egg is always near to the micropylar end. Understand? This is atrophous kind of ovule. Atrophous. Atrophous. This is anatrophous. If this is a ovule, this is where it is connected to placenta. Okay, this is where it will be connected to placenta, that is funicle. Here the funicle is here, hilum is here, these are integuments, and this is a embryo sac, the whole thing, this is the embryo sac, and this is the egg, and this is the micropyle. Okay, so in this it is like, it is transformed, turned 360 upwards. Okay, if the pollen grain is coming here, wait 1 second, if the pollen grain is coming this way, the pollen grain is coming this way, should come this way. Understood? Because here this is the micropylar end. If the micropylar end is here, then the egg is here, and the antipodal cells are here, and this is the central nucleus or the polar nuclei. Understood? And this is anatrophis. Anatrophis kind of ovule. Understood? Yes. And which of the following is incorrect for wind pollinated plants? Tell me. When I was telling you about that task, yes, I said you only one, many ovules in ovary, no, single ovule in ovary. So, which means A is a incorrect options. Flowers are small and not brightly colored, okay, true. Pollen grains are light and non-sticky, true. Well exposed stamens and stigma, true. Which of the following has proved helpful in preserving pollen as fossils? Tell me. D, right, correct. Yes, sporopollenin. It is a component of which? Component of exine. So that we can preserve. Pollen grains can be stored for several years in liquid nitrogen having a temperature of, factual question.
Minus 196.
Yes, minus 196 degree Celsius. This one we call it as cryo. This one we call it as cryopreservation. Very good. Functional megaspore is in an angiosperm develops into, functional megaspore develops into embryo sac. Yes, functional megaspore develops into embryo sac. A dioecious flowering plant prevents both. Dioecious means there are two different bodies, okay, like they are unisexual. If this is one flower, if this is one plant, this is a male plant and another one will be of, one is a female plant, another one will be male plant. Example, papaya. So if this is a flower, from here, if the female plant, if this is male plant, pollen grains from here, it can go to a different plant. So it is functionally cross pollination and genetically cross pollination, both functionally and genetically cross pollination. So this avoid autogamy as well as geitonogamy. Understood the question? Dioecious plant. Yes. Flowers which have single ovule in the ovary and are packed into inflorescence are usually pollinated by wind. So देख रहे हो कितना घुमा फिरा के सेम वही क्वेश्चंस कितने बार पूछे हैं. It is like many times they have asked. Yes. Attractants and rewards are required for anemophily means wind, entomophily means by insects, okay, hydrophily water, cleistogamy, it's a closed flower which is underneath the soil, below the surface of the soil. So it is attraction rewards are required for entomophily, okay, for to attract insects as a pollinators. The ovule of an angiosperm is technically equivalent to, easy, the ovule of an angiosperm is technically equivalent to
megaspore and zoom.
megasporangium. So if you see in the textbook, they have given the megasporangium, in the bracket they have given ovule. So these are equivalent. Such small details matters. Pollination in water hyacinth and water lily is brought about by the agency of, again this is the second time we are solving this question, easy, insects and wind. In majority of the angiosperm, reduction division occurs in the megaspore mother cell. Yes, a small central, no, actually it's a large central cell present in the embryo sac, that is central nucleus, large central, it is a very big cell. Egg has a filiform apparatus? No. Which has a filiform apparatus? It is synergids. Synergids has filiform apparatus. There are numerous antipodal cells? No, there are only 3 antipodal cells, which means this is also wrong, this is also wrong, this is also wrong. Reduction division occurs in the megaspore mother cell, definitely reduction division, which means meiosis happens in the megaspore mother cells, meiosis resulted into 4 megaspore, and in these 4 megaspore, for example if this is 4 megaspore, 3 will be degenerated and 1 will be the functional megaspore. This functional megaspore undergo 3 consecutive division. This functional megaspore undergo 3 consecutive division, isn't it? So yes, this is true. Consecutive divisions to make 8 cell, 7 nucleated embryo sac. Which of the following statement is not correct? We need to find the incorrect statement. Okay. The pollen grains of many species can germinate on the stigma of a flower, but only one pollen tube of the same species grow into the style. Is it true? Pollen grains of many species can germinate. No, they cannot germinate, right? How can they germinate? Polar pistil interaction में interact ही नहीं हो पाते हैं, तो how do they germinate? No. So we got the answer, yes. So insects that consume pollen or nectar without bringing about pollination are called pollen robbers or nectar robbers. True. Pollen germination and pollen tube growth are regulated by chemical components of pollen interacting with those of pistil. Pollen pistil interaction. Some reptiles have also been reported as pollinators. Directly from the statements are directly from the textbook. So A is the incorrect statement. Which of the following statement is not true? Again, not correct statement. Tell me which of the following is not correct. Tapetum helps in dehiscence of anther. Is it true?
Option A.
Option E. This is false, which means we need to find it. That is, option A is the wrong statement and it's the correct answer. Yes. Tell me which helps in dehiscence of anther. Which helps in dehiscence of anther, and what tapetum does? What is the role of tapetum? Huh?
Tapetum nourishes.
Nourishment. Yeah, giving nourishment is the role of tapetum. And which helps in dehiscence of anther? If not tapetum, tapetum is not.
Tapetum is endothecium.
Endothecium. Yes, very good. Endothecium. And rest 3 are exine of the pollen grains is made up of sporopollenin, true, and indestructible. And pollen grains of many species cause severe allergies, true. Stored pollen in liquid nitrogen can be used in crop breeding programs, that we call it as cryopreservation. And in minus 196 degree Celsius in liquid nitrogen, yes. Proximal end of the filament of stamen is attached to It's a good question. Tell me. Proximal end. Proximal means pass wala end. Yes, yes. Yes, Sakshi, I couldn't hear. D. Thalamus or petal. So yes. So proximal end is a near end. Proximal is for pass wala end. Okay. Distal end is a dur wala end. So if this is a anther, the near this one proximal end is either on the thalamus or on the petal, which gives epipetalous condition, or directly on the thalamus. True. And proximal end माने ये end मत समझना, ठीक है? Okay, if this is style, if this is filament, this end is a distal end, this end is a proximal end. This end is distal end. और एक सवाल भी बन सकता है, distal end of the filament of the stamen is attached to anther. Okay. Which one of the following may require pollinators but is genetically similar to orthogamy? Functionally cross pollination, but genetically self pollination, that is geitonogamy. This is functionally cross pollination, genetically self pollination. Which of the following are important floral rewards to animal pollinators?
Nectar and pollen grain.
Nectar and pollen grain. Why not other? We'll just go through floral fragrance. It's to attract insects, okay. And calcium crystal is an excretory material in plants, okay. And protein, pellicle and stigmatic exudates, no, for the process of pollination it helps. And the color and the large size of the flower, it's to attract. So we need to find the rewards. Rewards are only nectars and pollen grains. In angiosperms, microsporogenesis and megasporogenesis, okay, in angiosperm, microsporogenesis and megasporogenesis forms gamete without further division. Division, बिना division के कैसे? They both undergo meiosis, right? They both undergo meiosis.
Option B.
Yeah, I mean to say the microspore mother cell and megaspore mother cell, they both undergo meiosis, and that particular thing we call it as microsporogenesis and megasporogenesis. When they undergo, if this undergo, it form pollen grain as a male gametophyte. Pollen grain is a male gametophyte, okay. Underline that, it is given in the textbook, underline it. It can become a question as well. Pollen grain is not a male gamete. Pollen grain is a male gametophyte. What is male gamete now? Male gamete. So this pollen grain has two. One is vegetative cell and generative cell. When this generative cell go forming a pollen tube going to the embryo sac, here it divides into, undergo meiosis, mitosis and divides into two, and the one fuses with the egg, one fuses with the pollen nuclei. this is gamete, male gamete. Understood? This particular thing, this is called male gamete, and pollen grain as a pollen grain is a male gametophyte. Okay, and this one undergo meiosis and it produce megaspore. Ultimately it produce egg. This egg is a female gamete. Okay, female gamete. So we should note the difference. Yes, the answer to this question is B for Bombay. Involve meiosis. Filiform apparatus is a characteristic feature of synergids. And what it does, what is the role of this? What is the role of filiform?
Guide quality.
To guide pollen grain, not pollen grain, male gamete.
Male gametes.
Yes, that's what the difference I was talking about previously, isn't it? To guide male gamete. Male gametophyte in angiosperm produces, male gametophyte, that is pollen grain in angiosperm produces single sperm and vegetative cell, single sperm and 2 vegetative cells, 3 sperms, 2 sperms and vegetative cells. Previous question we discussed, right? So yes, very good Sakshi. So 2 sperms and vegetative cell. What happens, I'll tell you. Okay, the pollens in the majority of the plant is released in around 60% of the plants, the pollen grain is released in 2-celled stage. 2-celled stage. What is that 2-celled? If this is a pollen grain, one is vegetative cell, another one is generative cell. Okay, this generative cell, vegetative cell and generative cell. Okay, this generative cell, only 2. Okay, one is this and one is this one. This will be divided into, and this undergo meiosis and this will be divided. And this generative cell and this will form the pollen tube. This will lead first, this will lead. Okay, this will lead, and later this will undergo degeneration. This generative cell, when it is near to the egg, they undergo mitosis. Okay, this will fuse with the egg and this will fuse with the polar nuclei. So if that happens, then later this generative cell undergo mitosis to become 2 sperms, that is 2 male gametes, and one is vegetative cell. So 2 sperms and 1 vegetative cells. Understood? And again 40%, other rest 40% will release in 3-cell stage. That is, before releasing, the generative cell might have already undergone mitosis, which is 40% is released in 3-cell, 60%, that most of the plant, the pollen grains are released in 2-cell. Understood? This is the factual information. Which one of the following statement is not true? Just go through the this thing. Which of the following statement is not true? The flowers pollinated by flies and bats secrete foul odor to attract them. True. Honey is made by bees by digesting pollen. False, right? Honey is made by bees by digesting nectar.
Nectar.
Yes, definitely. So we need to find the not true, and we got it. B for Bombay is a correct answer. Pollen grains are rich in nutrients, and they are used in the form of tablets and syrups as supplements. Yes, the pollen grains of some plants cause severe allergies and bronchial affections in some people. That is also true. Any doubts? So, pollen tablets are available in the market for, just now I said, yes,
Food.
supplementing food. Very good. Function of filiform apparatus is guide the entry of pollen tube. Guide the entry of pollen tube. Am I audible, visible? Is everything okay? Yes. Geitonogamy involves fertilization of flower by pollen from a flower of another plant. तो नहीं है. Another plant. A flower of another plant तो नहीं है. Fertilization of flower by pollen from another flower of the same plant. Fertilization of flower by the pollen from the same flower. No, this is autogamy. Fertilization of flower. Okay, by the pollen from the same flower. Fertilization of, what is fertilization of flower? Okay. Fine. Anyway, understandable, right? Fertilization of a flower by the pollen from the another flower of the same plant is the correct answer. Another of the same plant, yes. So, which one of the following statement is correct? Tapetum nourishes the developing pollen. Hard layer of the pollen is called intine. It is called exine. Sporogenous tissue is haploid. It is diploid. Endothecium produces the microspore. No. Microspore, mother cell produces the microspore. We got the answers then in the first statement as well. That is A is the correct answer. Advantage of cleistogamy is, they don't have to depend on, yes, very good, they don't have to depend on any pollinators. It is 100% sure pollination. The megasporangium is equivalent to, the second time we are going to this question, isn't repeating this question, yes. So, megasporangium is equivalent to ovule. Very good. Double fertilization is, it's a good question. The fertilization of two male gametes of a pollen tube with two different eggs. Fusion of one male gamete with two polar nuclei. True, but what does the another male gamete does? It doesn't tell that. Fusion of two male gametes with one egg cannot be done. True. Syngamy means fertilization. That is a male gamete fertilized with the female gamete or egg, you can say, and resultant, that is fertilization, is called syngamy. Okay, this produce zygote, then embryo. Okay, this is one fertilization. Okay, one fertilization. Another one is triple fusion. Another male gamete which is haploid in nature, haploid, fuses with the two polar nuclei which is n plus n, resulting in triple fusion that becomes 3n, that is primary endospermic nucleus, PEN, resulting in PEN. Okay. So, this is D for Delhi is a correct answer. Syngamy, one fertilization, triple fusion, another fertilization, that is double fertilization you see in angiosperms. The part marked as X in the given figure is this one. What is this? This is a, tell me. False fruit. Where it is developed from? It is developed from thalamus. The fruit is developed from thalamus. Easy. In angiosperm, the haploid, diploid and triploid structure of fertilized embryo sacs sequentially are synergids, haploid, haploid, okay, haploid, synergids, haploid, 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 diploid and triploid. So, D is the correct answer. Any doubts in this? Synergids are haploid in nature, zygote after fertilization. So, it is diploid in nature, and primary endosperm nucleus is triploid in nature, that is after triple fusion. The residual persistent part which forms the perisperm in seeds of beet is, or black pepper is, the residual persistent part of the part which forms nucellus cells. Nucellus cell, the persistent nucellus, we call it as perisperm. Which part of the fruit labeled in the given figure marks it a false fruit? Is it A, B, D, C? Which one is a false fruit? False fruit in the sense it is arise from the thalamus, not from the ovary. This is apple, A apple hai. This part, if you see this part is from the, this part especially, this part is from thalamus. So, you can call it as C. That is a false fruit from the thalamus. In some plants, thalamus contribute to fruit formation. Such fruits are called, same question, such fruits are called false fruit. True fruits are arise from ovary. False fruits are arise, the thalamus contributes to fruit formation. The fruits formed from the thalamus, we call it as false fruit. Which one of the following statements regarding post fertilization development in flowering plant is incorrect? Ovary develop into fruit. Correct. Like we are seeing the post fertilization, okay, here post fertilization developments or events. Zygote develops into embryo, true. Central cell develop into endosperm, true. Ovules develop into embryo sac. First of all, it's not event in the post fertilization, and second of all, ovules develop into embryo sac. No, inside the ovule there is an embryo sac to begin with, isn't it? So ovule develop into embryo sac? No, it cannot make a proper sense here. And second of all, no, first of all, it is not a post fertilization event at all. Persistent nucellus in the seed is known as, you know it, just
Perisperm.
perisperm. Very good. What is the fate of male gametes discharged in the synergid? One fuses with the egg, another degenerate? नहीं. All fuses with the egg? ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? No. And one fuses with the egg, other fuse with the synergid nucleus? No. One fuses with the egg and another fuses with the central nuclei. True. One fuses with the egg, this result into zygote, which is diploid in nature, and another fuses with the central nuclei, which is n plus n, the polar nuclei already. If this comes and fuses, it becomes triploid, that is endosperm, isn't it? So this is a correct answer. The hollow foliar structure in a wheat embryo that encloses the shoot apex and a few leaf primordia is called shoot apex. Tell me.
Coleoptile.
Coleoptile. Easy as that. Cotyledon of maize grain is called monocotyledon.
Scutellum.
Scutellum. D4L is the correct answer. Easy as that, yes. The coconut water from tender coconut represents
Free nuclear.
free nuclear endosperm. Easy, yes. The hilum is a scar on the hilum is a scar on the
Seed where funicle was attached.
yes, seed where the funicle was attached, correct. The wheat grain has an embryo with one large shield shaped cotyledon known as, same again the same question, yes, you already solved this, which is scutellum. Which one of the following fruit is parthenocarpic?
Banana.
Banana is a parthenocarpic.
Banana.
Yes, very good. Coconut water from the tender coconut is, again it is repeated, free nuclear endosperm. Non-albuminous seed is produced in
P.
P. Non-albuminous means the endosperm is completely consumed. Is completely consumed. So we can see it in P. Especially in the dicot plants or dicotyledon plants, except castor. Castor is also dicot, but it has persistent endosperm in that. So it's exception. You need to mark it. You need to keep it in mind. Perisperm differs from endosperm in, perisperm is a persistent nucellus. Endosperm is formed after triple fusion. Nucellar cells or the nucellar cells are diploid in nature. Triple fusion, after the triple fusion, the endosperm is triploid in nature. So, perisperm being a diploid tissue, that is the difference between perisperm and endosperm, isn't it? Yes. So, D4L is the correct answer. Which of the following can be expected if scientists succeed in introducing apomictic gene varieties of crops? What is apomixis? Apomixis means formation of seed without fertilization. Very good. So, just go through all the options. There will be segregation of design. Very good, very good. Yes, D is the correct answer, which means farmers can keep on using the seeds produced by the hybrids. If there is a hybrid, if this is a hybrid, for example, okay, this is a hybrid variety of plant. If we produce seeds without fertilization, which means the whole character can be given to the next set of plants. Whatever the plant, it will be like a clone to this plant, right? Whatever the character this parent plant is having, the same character the daughter plant will also be having. There is no segregation of genes. If there is fertilization, for example, see, only n of this particular plant, another n, that is maybe, for example, this is a female gamete and this is male gamete. Here segregation takes place. Will be the complete hybrid? Will this be the complete hybrid? This is from the another plant. Will this be a complete hybrid? No, right? So, this is why the hybrid seeds, the farmers cannot use the seeds from the hybrid plants, because of the fertilization from the different plants, the segregation of genes takes place. That's why. If they produce the apomictic gene varieties, so the parent plant, what this parent plant will be having, the daughter plant will also be having the same types. So, the farmers can keep using the seeds produced by the hybrids to raise new crop every year, year after year. The seed formation without fertilization, it is called, in the flowering plants involves the process of, we were discussing about apomixis, yes. So, it is apomixis. So, yes, okay, this is the end of PYQs. Any doubts regarding this particular topic? So, 64 questions in just 1 hour. So, most of the questions were one-liners, right? Most of the questions were one-liners. So, any doubts? I hope everybody you understood, right? Yes. Okay, thank you so much everybody. If there is no doubts or any further question, we will end the class here. You can go read. Once go through all the factual information and conceptual information which is given in the textbook, that is NCERT. Go line by line. There are so many examples which are given, that also is equally important. They can bring questions this year with those examples considering. So, go through the NCERT book once, first chapter, sexual reproduction in flowering plants, and revise it well. Okay. So, okay, that's the end of this is the end of the class. Yes, Manzil. Is it correct? Manzil. Yes.
Vidya?
Yes, yes.
I'm uploaded a video in the playlist and I shared the video playlist in the group just to inform the students.
Sure, sure. So, the playlist of all the videos of the previous classes been uploaded onto YouTube. So, that particular playlist will be shared in the group. Go through the videos. If you have any doubts, you can go back to the recorded videos and get the doubts clarified in that particular videos. Okay, that will be uploaded. It's already been uploaded, and you will get the playlist link in the group. So, that's for today. Thank you so much everybody. You can leave the call.